Well, hello again. It's David Gilbert here with IGOT Communities, and I've really been missing you guys, but I've been super busy because, as you know, this is annual enrollment period for Medicare, and I do a lot of things with education about Medicare. So I've been really busy with all that. We've had some really fun events. We had a big bingo expo with 74 senior adults on Friday and gave away lots of prizes, and just teaching people everything they need to know so they can make the best educated decision that they need to make during this time. But today I'm back with you 100%. And if you see in front of me, I have some pumpkin and some butternut squash. And so the pumpkins were actually given to me for my birthday. The squash I just recently picked up at the store, but I'm going to be making a recipe. It is a butternut pumpkin soup, and you make it with some coconut milk. So the biggest thing is right now you prepare your pumpkin and your squash, and so all you're going to do is you take a knife, cut it, and once you get the insides out, the seeds and everything, you're going to put just about a teaspoon of olive oil on here and salt and pepper this. And then on the parchment paper, you're going to turn this upside down. We're going to bake this at 425 for about 50 minutes. So I'll do this video in a little bit of stages because we can't sit here and talk for 50 minutes on the video, even though I would love that. But I'm going to get this in the oven, and when this comes out, I'm going to be back with you. Also going to do a new recipe that Dr. Amy Myers just sent out, and it is a skillet, like chocolate chip cookie that you do in the skillet. And it's with all the things that we can have if you have autoimmune disease. So, just to update you on my status right now, I began the autoimmune solution diet on June the 27th of 2020, just this year. And since that time, I've lost 45 pounds, and I have become very active. Usually walk about 3 miles a day, sometimes a little bit more. Weekend, my husband and I love to ride bikes, and so we may ride anywhere from 10 to 15 miles on a Sunday afternoon. So we do that. But the greatest thing I think that's happened for me is something that I've shared, is that I've gotten rid of all these cravings and this drive for food, where food was always just like an idol to me, or I was a slave to it. And so now I just embrace it and enjoy it in a complete different way. Someone asked me the other day, do I still have some flare-ups with the rheumatoid arthritis? I do still have some flares. The overall quality of my health is probably improved, I'm guessing, by 80% or so. And sometimes on some days I would tell you 100%. But there are days that sometimes I do have some mild flares, and I just really am checking my diet. I've had zero sugar added to my diet since June 27th. And so if I'm getting sugar, it's going to be in natural fruits and through what you get in plants. So besides this, in my other oven, I am currently roasting some herb roasted chicken, organic. And so I have the whole chicken. I have 2 of those in there right now because one we're going to slice up and eat. The other one I'm going to use to make some chicken soup. It's fall, the temperatures are dropping, and it's just a great time for soup and those foods that we always feel like are comfort foods. So I'll get these in the oven, and I'll be back with you shortly after these are done. And so I'm hoping this is going to be one more new favorite dishes. In the meantime, I just came from Books A Million, just bought a brand new book. I'm so excited to start reading. And so I'm going to curl up on the sofa with a little Avocan and read while I'm waiting on these things to cook. See you shortly. So I've just pulled the pumpkin and the squash out of the oven. I just want you to see how beautiful it looks. I'm going to flip it over in just a few minutes and scrape out the pumpkin and the squash in a bowl, and then I'll be back with you. So in between making our pumpkin squash, butternut squash soup and roasting our herbed chicken, I'm going to be working on a dessert for us, and it is a chocolate skillet cookie. We're going to make that actually in a 12-inch skillet that I've prepared with coconut oil. And so I'm going to get it right to it here in a minute. The first thing I'm going to do is I have a palm shortening, which is a organic vegetable shortening that I get at the health food store. So I've already added that. There's 1 cup of that. And to that I'm adding 2/3 of pure maple syrup. So there is 1/3. And here's the other 1/3, along with 1 teaspoon of alcohol-free organic vanilla. I'm going to go ahead and add that. We're going to whip this up for the maple syrup and the shortening for about 1 minute. In the meantime, I hope you can hear me. In the meantime, we're using 4 different types of flour. Now, I've told you in earlier videos that this is a wheat-free plan. Autoimmune Solution is a wheat-free plan. So I'm going to be using 1 cup of cassava flour. 1 cup. This is 1 cup of tiger nut flour. One-half cup of coconut flour. 1/2 cup of tapioca flour. And then we're going to add the other dry ingredients to these 4 flours. All of these I get at Whole Foods or one of the health food stores that I stock in. Sometimes I can find cassava flour and some of these at Kroger. So to the 4 flours, which is cassava, tiger nut, tapioca flour, and coconut flour. Those are our 4 flours. So just kind of mixing those together. Now, it calls for 1/4 of a cup of cocoa. I actually use the cocoa nibs that are dried, and I put them in a grinder and grind them because I like that little richer chocolatey taste, but that's organic. And this is 2 tablespoons of Myers Way gelatin. And I ordered that from Dr. Amy Myers' store that's online. 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of, 1/2 teaspoon actually of Himalayan sea salt. Okay. So we're just going to mix these dry ingredients all together, and then we're going to add that to the shortening mixture and the maple syrup and vanilla mixture that's in there. So I'm just going to mix this up, and add these to this mixture. And then together it's going to make a soft cookie dough. So got that mixed up. Hoping that flour don't fly everywhere. Gonna just slide this down a little bit into the bowl so it'll mix a little better together. And it is forming a nice cookie dough consistency. So this looks very much like, just almost like a chocolate chip cookie dough. Just mixing this up a little bit here. So to give you an idea, it's very much like a chocolate chip cookie dough. The next thing we're going to do is put it into the skillet. I have my oven preheated actually to 350 degrees, and this will bake about 30 to 35 minutes. You bake it actually until it begins, the sides pull away a little bit from the skillet and it puffs up. So you can see this consistency here. And I'm just going to spread this down. The directions say you can actually use your hands to pat this out. If you do so, it recommends that you get them just a little bit damp. But it spreads super fine. Now, one thing about this diet that's different when I'm baking, of all the things I've baked thus far, is it's not exactly the same texture as regular breads and cakes and cupcakes and brownies. It's a different texture. And in part, that is so because we are completely away from all gluten. And gluten's the glue that holds those other breads all together and gives that smooth baked texture to those breads. But gluten is really the enemy of having a healthy gut. And when your gut is not healthy, you're going to have undigested food particles that are going to pass through the gut lining and cause infection into your body, into your system, and that is basically how you end up with a lot, or part of the culprit, why you end up with some autoimmune disease. So, almost have this ready. And so here's how it looks before we go to the oven. So then when I get this out after it's baked, we're going to put a little drizzle of chocolate, I'll show you that shortly, and cut this in about 8 wedges. So let's get this in the oven at 350 degrees. So, I've never pretended that my cooking videos were professional, and certainly they're not, but they are fun. So, you'll see me standing at my Dutch oven stirring, and inside the Dutch oven is 2.5 cups of unsweetened coconut milk, 2 cups of vegetable broth, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And then when the video picks up, you'll be right where we should be. So all I'm saying is just keep living and just keep having fun. So this is almost boiling at this point. And in just a few moments, we're going to add our squash and pumpkin with our maple syrup, some salt, and let it simmer for just a few more minutes. I really enjoy doing these cooking videos, mainly because I've learned to cook in a whole new different way, and the program has been just so successful to me. So Friday, as I said earlier, we had a huge bingo expo for senior adults, and a lot of people that I had not seen other than on Zoom were there. And they were asking me all kinds of questions because of my weight loss. And so I was able to share, and they know because when I play online with our senior adults, I kind of keep them posted about what's going on in my life. So I was able to share about the Autoimmune solution diet. One lady said, "Have you been really sick?" And no, I was really sick before I began. And I've been on a journey toward health ever since, which reminds me of one thing that I think is hugely important. I'm constantly listening to motivational talks, and during this journey, one of the websites that I found was Women of Today, and it's just womenoftoday.com. The whole month of September was a fast from sugar, and where you just go through the whole month with no added sugar. And I was already doing that, but I was able to share that with a lot of other women. And that website's particularly healthy because it's women of all ages, and it's women helping women, and from time to time somebody will do a recipe, send it in, and Camilla will put that on. But she's just such a loving and generous person to be leading this group of women, and so I've learned so much. The month of October on Women of Today is about self-care. It's about learning to take care of yourself, meditate, and just really pamper yourself. And if we're going to be successful helping other women and taking care of our families, we really have to take care of ourselves as well. So that's one of the tools that I use just on a daily basis. I love watching that particular website because Camilla has a deep love for her mother-in-law, and it reminds me of a biblical story. But she is just so kind. Her mother-in-law's 88, and she's just so kind and always including her and making her feel important and valuable. And her mother-in-law has amazing wisdom and still just high energy for her age, healthy, fun-loving, and so it's just a fun website. So check that out if you haven't already. Now, this is almost bubbling up here. Energy for her age, healthy, fun-loving, and so it's just a fun website. So check that out if you haven't already. Now, this is almost bubbling up here. Gonna let it actually come to boiling. And so, also in between all this, I've made the chocolate sauce that goes on our chocolate skillet cookie. So we'll put this all together just in a second. Okay, so this, remember, this is your full fat coconut milk, 2.5 cups, 2 cups of vegetable broth, 1 teaspoon of garlic, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. So it's boiling now, and when we add the rest of this, we're going to turn that to simmer. So we're going to add our pumpkin and squash. And we're going to add a tablespoon of pure maple syrup and a teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt. Okay, now we're all ready with this. I'm going to turn this down so it will simmer. Stir in this pumpkin and squash. And I'm telling you, this is looking amazing. Just a very smooth consistency of pumpkin squash soup. So all right, let's let this simmer for a minute or so, and here is our cookie. This is some parsley we'll put to the soup. So here's our cookie, our chocolate flavored cookie. And I have made chocolate sauce. Now this is, actually I probably should heat it up a little bit more, but this is actually just a 1/4 cup of coconut, organic coconut sugar, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, and I use the cocoa, not the cocoa nibs in this, and about a tablespoon of water. So we're just going to spread this across here. I've let it get just a little bit thick. Just want to spread it across for a little decoration, just a little chocolate taste. If my granddaughters were here, they would be saying, "Can we lick that?" They're on a little camping trip right now with their mom and dad. They've got great interactive parents who are very involved in their lives. Okay, so let me show you this. Here we go. Skillet or chocolate skillet cookie. We'll put this in 8 wedges and serve it for dinner. So we have that. So here you have it. Here's what's being served at the Gilbert house tonight. We have rosemary herb chicken that has been roasted. We have our butternut pumpkin soup. I'm going to add a little ground black pepper to this just for garnish. And we have our chocolate skillet cookie. So I don't know what you're having at your house, but think about having something healthy. You know, I talked earlier about Medicare. One of the greatest things that you can do for yourself while you're younger is take care of yourself and your family so that when the time comes for you to have insurance when you're aging, it's a lot easier because you've taken such good care of yourself all along the way. So, until I see you again, just keep living.